This is GH Today. I am Sewami here, and on the breakfast review today, we are dissecting the former president John Dramani Mahama's media engagements, which happened yesterday. And I'm sitting with Samuel Nete George. He is the Member of Parliament for Ningo Prampram, who was present at the media engagements yesterday, of which I was present as well. Sam George, good morning. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
We all left the place very late.
This is the first time I'm here this year, so good morning.
This year? Oh, wow. Oh, then thank you. Thank you so much for coming. Happy New Year to you too, Sam George. So let's, we're definitely going to talk about the NPP before we wrap up the conversation at some point. But you were there, generally. How did it go?
Let me say a very good morning to our viewers. And before I jump into this, so that I don't forget, let me just say and wish all BC candidates in the Ningo Prampram constituency and across the country all the very best. As they ride their BC, I pray that God grants them retentive memory, and we wish them well. I'll be visiting some of the centers in the constituency later today. Yesterday's Mahama Conversations was the first in a number of similar engagements that His Excellency John Dramani Mahama will be engaging in, without prejudice to one-on-one interviews that he will have. But this was his way of being open and transparent and being accountable to the fourth estate of the realm. And this is not something that's new when it comes to John Dramani Mahama. He's always been one who's had an open door policy to the media, even when he was vice president and when he became president and throughout his time as leader of the opposition. And so yesterday's engagement was a good one. He allowed for him to lay out his roadmap. He allowed for him to, first and foremost, make a statement on something that nobody in government is speaking about and something that Mahmoud Bawumia is afraid to talk about: corruption and the fight against corruption. He also allowed him to speak about the tattered state of our economy and the despair that young people are feeling at this point in time. He showed the leadership that we do not see from those in government today and those who seek to lead the state from the NPP. He showed that leadership by speaking to the young people of our country and saying to them that I feel your pain, I feel your struggle, I know there is despair, but trust me, there is some hope on the horizon, and that hope is in voting for John Mahama on the 7th of December, because the young people of our country are not different from the young people of Kenya. And the despondence, look, the young people of Kenya demonstrated and shut down the Kenyan economy because their president took one private jet trip. Our president buffs in the air. I mean, he's done at the last count, over 40 private jet trips, and so let's not underestimate the anger. That's the pent-up anger. And John gave them hope. He gave them assurance that, look, we're not all the same. That rhetoric of they are all the same is the NPP's way of trying to level and equal the mud in which they find themselves. Mm-hmm. We're not all the same. We're different from them. And I think John did that. And then John gave the 5 reasons why he can be trusted to turn the doldrums around. But what is very instructive for me, one of the things he said is that success or victories in our DNA as Ghanaian people. And for me, that resonated so much with me because, in fact, he said victory is in our DNA and I know we can overcome the difficulties. For me, when he made those comments yesterday, it resonated with me because as a Ghanaian, one of the things that I've always said is Ghanaians are magicians. We always find a way. It's our victorious spirit. Even in the most difficult circumstances, we find a way to laugh about it and turn the tide. And that's what he said, that, look, we're going to turn around the tides. And let me just look for that quote because he said something about tides, which is good. He said, fellow Ghanaians, notwithstanding these challenges, I am imbued with optimism and a steadfast belief in God, in my God Almighty, and the amazing creativity of Ghanaians to assure you tonight that together we shall turn this tide. We shall turn this government's destructive tide into positive and progressive waves that will reverberate in every home and corner of our country and across the globe, demonstrating that Ghana has once again gotten back on track. We need to set this country aright. We need to reset Ghana. We need to put this country to work again. We need to make Ghana productive again. We need to harness the creativity of our young people. And this government has lost its onions. They've lost their bearings. They've sidetracked. They are in free fall. I mean, we're on autopilot. There is no leadership, absolutely no leadership showing from any part of the current executive. And we need a tried and trusted hand like John Dramani Mahama.
I want us to zoom into the various sectors that he touched on,
Sure.
and the questions that came from there. He talked about the 24-hour economy. He talked about the free senior high school, talked about the Supreme Court. Those are questions that I asked him, which I didn't think that it was satisfactorily answered. But since you're here, you probably will go over that for me again. Let's start with the 24-hour economy.
Your question or which one?
My question. But we're starting with the 24-hour economy.
Okay. I'm sure we can handle all of them. Yes.
And dream with you to look beyond the present and dream with me of a reset Ghana. The Ghana we all want, where your talents and hard work will determine your success. I promise a Ghana where you are not sidelined, but at the forefront of change, where you can live happy lives and still achieve your optimum potential. This is not just a promise, it's a commitment. I will reset the economy and Ghana will be open for business for 24 hours a day. Leadership is about vision, and the 24-hour economy is the vision to create decent and well-paying jobs. When I talk about a 24-hour economy, we need to understand the underlying vision behind that policy. The 24-hour economy is the means to an end, and the end is putting Ghana on a solid foundation for accelerated growth and development. We need to attain the growth rhythm that will turn our country into a developed economy and eliminate the abject levels of poverty we are witnessing today. An economy that will manufacture many of its needs, including food and beverages, drugs, clothing, and more, such that we can address the exchange rate volatilities due to needless imports. The world is moving very fast. We need to keep up with this new rhythm. So first, think of the 24-hour economy as an accelerator, the best accelerator or catalyst we could possibly have. A 24-hour economy will increase the production and distribution of goods and services and accelerate the economic exchanges between people and companies. And with that, we will start growing at an unprecedented pace while providing decent jobs for our young people. As I've said, leadership is about vision, and I stand by it. But leadership is also about caring. It's about giving people genuine, solid hope. And this is what the 24-hour economy is really about. And let me explain further. The 24-hour economy is a solid way to replace imports with homegrown production of goods, and thus create a solid base for a vibrant Ghanaian industry. In many instances, we don't import goods because they are better than what we produce. We import them because nobody produces them here in Ghana in the first place, or because our local production is insufficient. Therefore, the stimulus packages for companies wanting to participate in the 24-hour economy will convince businesses, and I'm sure of it, to start producing import substitutes. And do you know why? Because the market for such products already exists.
Right, so that's former President John Dramani Mahama speaking on the 24-hour economy. One of the flagship policies of the NDC, should they come into power after the December 7, 2024 elections. But Sam, there are many, I'm sure that you guys have heard these arguments that in some sectors, we're already seeing the 24-hour economy. And it's not probably like a well thought through policy. How do you respond to that? Because the former president yesterday, and as he has said many times, that this is something that will even provide more jobs. But you hear the opposition NPP say that they're for instance, there are pharmacies that some which are operating for 24 hours. There are some industries that are operating 24 hours. So this is really not a game changer.
Okay, so the mind or the mouth is only able to articulate what the mind can conceptualize. So if something is beyond your understanding, it looks like it's impossible. Okay. And so should it not strike you as interesting that the very guys whose slogan is "it is possible" claim something is not possible? It tells you that they don't even believe in the possibility that they speak about. Look, the 24-hour economy is a very well thought through program. I've sat in meetings where the deliberations on the 24-hour economy have run as late as 3 a.m. Meetings that started at 5 p.m. because there's a full implementation plan. You see, the NPP is using their Mackin scheme to think about to think that everyone is like them. Remember when Nanado was asked as candidate Akufo-Addo on his free SHS policy? He didn't have a cost for it. He didn't have a plan for it. Till today, we don't have a free SHS implementation plan as we speak. It's an ad hoc. It's been ad hoc implementation. It's been Yenkonkwa as we go for Kobo. That's basically what they're doing. And they think everyone is like them. We're not like that. We have a detailed document. And President Mahama was clear yesterday that, look, this 24-hour economy is already anchored in our 40-year development plan that we developed as NDP, under the NDC, under John Mahama, at the NDPC, the National Development Planning Commission. So there is already a policy document. We've fleshed it out, and we have an implementation plan for the 24-hour economy. Look, the 24-hour economy is not supposed to be an all-sector, all-encompassing policy where people are saying, oh, are you going to go to farm at night? I've heard all of those ridicules and, I mean, those light-hearted jokes. But look,
so it's not for every sector of the economy.
We've been clear about that. Not every sector of your economy can run 24 hours. Even in the industrialized world, not every sector runs 24 hours. But you see, yes, there may be one or two sprinkling of business entities that have made a conscious self-made decision to engage in a 24-hour shift economy. And it tells you that that means it is possible. If private sector persons are able to take that decision on their own, then it means that if government decides to then give impetus to it, we can actually see more. And then you can then imagine the ripple effects. Now, I'll give you a typical example. A pharmacy I use, and forgive me, I may end up doing advertisement for them, is Top Up Pharmacy in Osu. One of the reasons why I use them is not just the quality of the drugs, but the fact that at any time of the day, I could drive to Top Up Pharmacy at Osu and get the medication I want. But one thing I'm very minded about is it's not the same people who are there in the morning who are there in the evening. It means that that pharmacy is employing at least 2 or 3 streams of workers. So it then means that the same business has created more employment because they ran 24 hours. If that pharmacy was closing at 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. like many other pharmacies, they would not be employing another stream of workers. So it then means that we have a clear example that private businesses that do this employ more. Now, if government decides that this is going to become a government policy, and what we have to do is now make sure that everyone who is running a 24-hour, running on a 24-hour policy gets a certain government impetus, like tax incentives. So you run a 24-hour economy policy in your business, you're going to get certain tax breaks and tax credits. Okay. Now that is something that does not exist today. That is something that other businesses who are not engaged in will want to get on board. Because, Sarah, if you were, for example, if you were producing hair locally, if Oh My Hair started its own hair production company in Ghana and was producing hair, and there was another company producing hair that had gone onto the 24-hour economy policy, and we're running 24 hours, and we're getting tax credits, tax holidays, and tax rebates, and Oh My Hair was not, it automatically puts you at a competitive disadvantage. So the impetus is for you to get on board because those tax credits will drop your cost of production as well.
Right.
So it's important that we give other businesses an incentive to come on board. Now, another thing is that for businesses, it's cost of power. When you talk to any business in Ghana, be they saloons, be they restaurants, be they whatever it is, any business that runs on power, that runs on electricity will tell you that power, the cost of power is one of the major cost items in the running of business. Now, when you get on board the 24-hour policy, we've indicated, and that's why I said if you look at the implementation plan, there are going to be specialized tariffs for businesses that are running on the 24-hour policy. You know why? Because we generate power 24 hours a day. Now, in the night, when everybody shuts down and goes to work, we have excess power that goes to waste that we still have to pay for. So if right now factories are working and using that power, and you don't need, if we're selling a kilowatt of power at 10 pesos per kilowatt hour, and we are paying for that for nobody using it. And now we have companies coming on board, and instead of them paying 10 pesos, they're now paying 5 pesos. It helps the state to get some revenue for the power that's used, that is not being used normally, but it also becomes cheaper cost. So then most factories will now ramp up most of their production at night, where cost of power is less. So that again is an incentive. That's something that's not happening. And I'm showing you the things that are not happening today with the 24-hour policy that will make it workable and attractive for other people. Now you have filling stations,
So
for example.
before you get to the filling station, so the existing companies
Yes.
or businesses that are already running a 24-hour program, if you become, if you win power in the
When we win
upcoming
power
election,
on the 7th of December and come into
Where-
government on the
where-
7th of January.
will they benefit from these incentives, or just
Absolutely.
because they are already
No,
implementing
no,
the
no, no, no.
excluded?
So once they come on board, and I'm sure there's going to be an implementing agency that's going to oversee the 24-hour economy policy. All they need to do is they would indicate to that entity that we're already running this. This is evidence of it, and then they get onboarded, because once they're running 4 hours, what matters to us is not who they are. It's not what the surname of the owner is, or what part of the country they come from. What matters to us is that they are doing import substitution, helping us to replace expensive imports with local production. They're employing young Ghanaians. That's all that matters to John
So
Mahama
this will be
and
the
resetting the
criteria,
country.
because I'm wondering how you, with all these incentives that you talk about, they are very attractive, and there may be companies or persons who may want to sign on, but their services may not be needed at night. How do you?
No, so most of the factories are not producing to sell at night.
So you are targeting factories.
Well, the
Mostly.
factories are a large part, because see, one of the large employers is manufacturing.
Okay.
And we're all talking about manufacturing sector. I mean, that's why the NPP went into this sloganeering of one district, one factory.
So-
because the more factories you put to work at night, the more manufacturing you have locally, the more you replace import. So that's one of the major drivers. It's not the only. For example, there are ancillary businesses to manufacturing. Catering. Once people are working at night, they will eat. You understand me? Transportation.
Yeah.
So all of these are ancillary businesses that will definitely benefit from the 24-hour economy. And that's what I was coming to with the filling stations. Once transportation is running at night, you're going to have people buying fuel at night. But then right now, most of our filling stations don't operate at night because of security challenges. And so President Mahama stated that, again, it is, I use the example of Top Up Pharmacy. They've had to employ private security there. But that
Yeah.
private security, is he armed? He may not be. But if we were able to put a lot more armed policemen on night rotation duty to ensure that we had enough security in enclaves where the 24-hour economy is operating, or general state of visibility across the country, two things happen. You create the secured environment for businesses to operate without fear of robbery. But what you also do is it means you're going to increase recruitment numbers in the security services. So you're creating new jobs in the security services, and you're providing a secured environment for others to operate. So the 24-hour economy is a detailed one. For example, you look at an industry like agro-processing. About 40% of flowers that are sold in Holland come from Kenya. The flight from Kenya to the Netherlands is at least 3-4 hours more than the flight from Accra. In my constituency, under John Mahama, there was the Greenhouse Initiative and the Dowenya Irrigation Farm, where they were planting roses and other essential flowers and exporting from my constituency, Israelis, exporting from my constituency to Europe on a daily basis. But you see, the lifespan of those products is very
Yeah,
short.
Very.
They cut, it needs to be refrigerated and flown out immediately. And so what you then need to do is now have an impetus to allow agro-processing, for example, to serve the European market and all of this market. So you have farm gates that are producing the raw material, and now we're just selling the raw material. If we allow agripreneurs, and agribusiness is a key part of President Mahama's next government, and we begin to do value addition. In my constituency again, there's a company that exports yams. Okay?
Yeah.
They get the yams. Yams are not necessarily cultivated to that extent in my constituency. They're cultivated in the Bono region. It's bought from there. It's brought to Pram Pram in Miocho. It's processed, cleaned up, and baggaged and exported. Now imagine that they can work 24 hours a day. The amount of work that will happen in there, the amount of young people in Ningo Pram Pram who will get employment. Because at the moment, they employ quite a number of people. They employ over 200 people. You go to another factory in my constituency, B5. B5 has the capacity to produce 24 hours. It's the biggest steel plant, $80 million investment sitting in my constituency. They don't have enough power, they don't have enough water, so they're not able to run 24 hours. If we're able to provide them the electricity and water that they need to be able to run 24 hours, already at this point in time, B5 is employing about 2,500 of my young people. Now imagine if they run a second shift. So those are the kinds of life-changing impacts, real-life scenarios that I'm giving to you. Atlantic Life Sciences is one of the first vaccine producers in Ghana, again in my constituency. Atlantic Life Sciences has the capacity to expand its production if they were giving the impetus that they need, given tax breaks, given the water that they need. Today, the government of Ghana, President Akufo-Addo came and commissioned their new building with pump and punch entry, slapped 1D, 1F. It's been 2 years. They still don't have water. They still have to use their own tankers to go to Abeime to fetch water. So these are the things that you need a government that has its head properly screwed on, that understands what the policies are to lead about the industrial revolution of Ghana.
Okay, now let me take you back to the filling station example that
Yes.
you gave. With these incentives, once again, very attractive, assuming that 10 filling stations decide to come on board and run a 24-hour program, what if people don't turn up to buy the fuels? They're just going to be open there and just be sitting there?
If the factories are working, if the businesses are running, there's going to be transportation. Once there's transportation, the cars will not run on air, they will run on fuel.
But how many vehicles or cars are we going to, or are we expecting to be moving around?
So I know that you travel a lot. And in economies that run 24 hours, New York is a city that they say never sleep. It's happened. You see, we must look at...
But we are not New York.
But that's where we're headed for.
Population isn't even up to that of New York.
It's not about population. It's about creating the environment for it. Listen, the few filling stations that run 24 hours are on the Oxford Street.
Yeah.
Why? Because there's always activity running on the Oxford Street. So there's a business case for them to run 24 hours. 24 hours. So I'm saying to you that even today, the parts of our city, of our country, that stay awake till 2, 3 a.m. You see that businesses still run. You still see the woman selling Indomie at 2 a.m. because there is a market for it. You need to create more of those markets. We need to make sure that Tema doesn't go to sleep at 6 p.m. Tema was built as an industrial enclave. Tema does not need to sleep at 6 a.m. because factories have closed at 6 p.m. At 6 p.m. when a shift is ending, Tema must be waking up to deal with the night shift. And that's what we're talking about. So for me, it's a chain reaction.
Okay.
Once you start with the businesses and once you start moving the human resource that's needed to run these businesses, definitely the ancillary businesses will kick in.
Okay. Let's move on. Let's talk about Free Senior High School.
Yes.
There's been a lot of debates on who started Free Senior High School, and I think that yesterday, and I've heard a lot of communicators, make a case in the NDC, make a case that it is the NDC that started the Free Senior High School policy. Yesterday, the former president reiterated that fact. Now, the former president has also been quoted as saying that he's going to review the policy, and I wanted him to answer a question on what that review means, because I have heard people, including CSO, say that the way that we have implemented it is not the best because there are persons who may be able to pay for their children, but they're under this program and they're struggling. And one of the biggest challenges for free senior high school is financial problems and, finding sustainable funding. What exactly does the former president mean when he says that he will review the policy? Some parents are worried that this review will mean that their financial situation will be changed to have them bear some of the costs. Is that what it's going to be? Is that what the review means?
So yesterday, I heard President Mahama answer that question, and he was very clear. Free SHS is here to stay.
Yes.
It was started by him. He started it as a progressively free senior high school in 2015, 2016. We were lauded and applauded by the UN for rolling out UNESCO, UNDP, all applauded President Mahama for rolling out the progressive free SHS. And let's be clear, the progressive free SHS is not something a political party must seek to even say belongs to you. If any political party wants to own it, then it should be the NDC because we put it in the manifesto. Don't forget in the constitution. Don't forget the NPP ran away and boycotted the 1992 constitution. And free senior high school is a constitutional mandate. It is there in our constitution, 1992 constitution. The NDC put it there that we must have a progressively free senior high school. Now, the question here is, President Mahama says he will review it. And then all of a sudden, the so-called men in the NPP, their understanding of the word review is cancellation. Have we not heard President Akufo-Addo say he was going to review things?
So what does the review that the President Mahama talks about mean? What does it mean?
The review is to rationalize the way the free SHS is being implemented today. You speak to any parent who has children in the school, and they'll tell you the challenges that they are facing with the free SHS. Poor sanitary conditions in the schools, poor feeding for their children, lack of educational material and TLMs, teaching and learning materials in the schools, overcrowding in the dormitories. These are real and present challenges. An inconsistent timetable where the kids literally go to school for 4 or 5 weeks, come home for 6 weeks. Parents are having to spend more on private tutorials for their children to keep them up because the teacher-student contact hours have reduced drastically. These are real challenges. And listen, even Ken Ofori-Atta, I think, sat in this very studio, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if it was your network, but he sat in the media and made a clear point that even as finance minister, maybe that's one of the only things he ever got right. He thought that the whole process by which we were running the free SHS was wrong. Kosawa, how can you explain that a child has sat in basic school all the way from Montessori to JHS? This child's parents has paid fees in dollars. Then as soon as that child gets into a government senior high school, that child becomes so impoverished that the government needs to bear the full cost. Absolutely not.
Is that a review that you are going
We
to do?
need to rationalize it and ensure that those who are willing and capable of making payments will make some payment, whilst the state will be in a position to absorb the cost of tuition. Okay? Those are things we need to look at. If a child is not indigent, and let's be very clear, that's one of the things President Mahama did in 2015. It was a targeted program. You'll have the list of the most impoverished people in Ghana, the LEAP.
So
okay, and so when we say we're going to rationalize, we're going to look at the way it's been implemented. First and foremost, do you have enough classrooms or dormitories for everybody? What's the consequence of that on the shifting cultivation they are doing, the traffic light system? Is it possible for some people to pay? Not everybody. Some people who have the capacity. And several PTAs, or now they say we shouldn't call them PTAs. We should call them PAs.
If it is free,
yes.
Why do you want some people to pay and others not pay? And how do you ensure that those who are actually asked to pay or those who are not supposed to be paying are adhering to it? Because we know how things sometimes happen.
I have heard on your network interviews with parents who have said, look, the government should let us pay so that our children, how many times have they paid?
Because EduWatch has done a research.
Yeah.
where about 100,000 school children
Mm-hmm.
could not do senior high school because of financial problems. So yes, there may be a few parents
And
who may be
currently
able
you have
to.
1.2 million.
There may be
You have
a few
1.2
people who
million
can pay.
in the senior high school system. So if 100,000 could not pay and 1.2 million are present, and you're saying, per your statistics, 100,000 could not pay, it means 1.1 million could have paid something. But I'm not even saying that that's what we're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying to you that of that number, there are some who are in a position who are willing and able to pay.
Isn't that going to be too much work? How are you going to
How's it
compile
going to
that
be too much
data?
work? Currently, look, it's the intransigence of this government that has brought us to this place.
So how are you
because
going to
there
do
are
it?
parents who have decided. How many times have we not heard parents wake up and buy food and send to the schools because their children are starving?
So how are you going to do it? So you pick, what school did you go to? Sorry.
No, I didn't attend a secondary school in Ghana.
Oh, okay. Well, I went to Yasantua Girls.
Good.
So
in Yasantua
government-
Girls, for
yes,
example,
yes.
you have a number of children who've been placed there. And by no means am I saying that this is the full exhaustive implementation plan.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is, in Yasantua Girls, for example, you've got children who are placed there who automatically will qualify for the full free SHS policy because the families are captured under LEAP. Automatically. These are persons who the state itself is already supporting with quarterly cash grants. So a child from any of those homes cannot be expected to pay anything. They must be full beneficiaries
In
of the free
Yasantua
SHS.
Girls?
Yes. Why? But the Yasantua Girls School, it is placements that push children there. The children of persons on LEAP would have qualified through BEC.
Right.
They could have been in whichever village in any
Right.
part of the country.
Right.
Once they were placed and put in Yasantua Girls, they would definitely need, whether it's Yasantua Girls or Holy Child, and we've got these
So
children
for-
across
for-
the country.
for a
So
school
LEAP
like-
beneficiaries, for example, children of LEAP beneficiaries, for me, it's a no-brainer. Cannot be asked to pay anything.
So you come to Yasantua Girls,
Yes.
ask for the students whose parents are on leave.
We don't need to come to the school and ask. The database already sits with government. Government does that payment. It's that same database that's also, and then you have another database that's being used to do the placement. So it's simply running a query on it
And
to
then
identify the children who automatically, it's going to be a tiered system. So automatically you have the first tier of people who are LEAP beneficiary children or children of LEAP beneficiaries.
Right.
Who automatically, in that tier, once you fall in there, there is absolutely no question about it. You must go in free of charge. Again, I believe that one of the things, and I'm not saying, again, let me issue a disclaimer, I'm not saying that this is how it's going to be implemented, but one thing I would suggest to the review committee that will be set up, and there's going to be a national conversation. So it's not as though the NDC is going to sit back and just say we are doing ABC. President Mahama runs a consultative forum, and he stated that we'll have a national consultation on this matter, where parents will be invited to have their say. Teachers themselves will be allowed to speak. It's not going to be the situation now where when head teachers speak and teachers speak, they are reprimanded and moved out of their roles or punished or suspended. No, we'll give them a voice because our teachers have a voice in how the free SHS must be implemented. And so there's going to be this general consensus built on the best way forward between parents, government, educators, and even students themselves. So we're going to build this roadmap. And that's what I'm saying to you, that the national conversation will flesh out what the roadmap is. My contribution to that program is what that process is what I've just explained to you. It's my suggestion that, look, it's a no-brainer that LEAP beneficiary children must not be made to pay anything. Again, I think that if a child is coming in to a government secondary school from a private school of a certain standing, they cannot be asked to benefit fully. For example, if a child had attended any of our international schools across the country, where we know the fees are paid in dollars, and that child sat the BEC and decides to come into the class A or class B schools in the public sector, why should they be paying, why should government be subsidizing 100% for them? They will get some subsidy, tuition, for example, books, for example. But if that child wants to be a boarder, the parents should pay for it. Because if they were able to pay, and I think this should not be a difficult thing for us to agree on as a country. Because if you paid from Montessori to JHS3, at least $1,000, in some cases, there are some of those schools that charge $18,000 in this country. And parents pay. And after paying $18,000 for a child in JHS 3, that child goes to SHS 1, and the parents cannot pay 3,000 Ghana cedis. I mean, who are we kidding ourselves? So for me, my suggestion to that process of review will be that we should run a tiered system that aggregates and segregates the students and gives a tiered level of scholarship. But I think that across board, everybody in senior high school must have free tuition of a certain level. Free tuition. That must be fundamental. If you want to be in the boarding house, you want to get feeding and all of that, then we begin to look at the criteria for which you qualify to either get it free of charge, maybe at 75% bursary rate, 50% bursary rate, 25% bursary rate. Even in the advanced world, Sewa, not everybody gets 100% scholarship when they go to universities. Some people get 50% scholarship, some 25%, some 75%. So it all comes back to making sure that we have a tiered system. And that's my contribution to this process. But the bottom line is that President Mahama's review is not a cancellation. He has made it clear he can't cancel something he started. Okay. But you see, I'll give you a typical example of why we'll make it better. And yesterday, President Mahama spoke about it. National health insurance. The NDC started the national health insurance in 1998 with a pilot program in parts of the Bono region. Then the NPP takes over office in 2001 with President Kufuor and roll out based on the successes of the pilot program. And that pilot program was carried out with the Catholic Health Services. So it's not something that you cannot confirm. The Catholic Health Services is an established body under the Catholic Church of Ghana. President Kufuor takes the pilot that was run under President Rawlings and rolls out a health insurance program. But anybody who remembers very well, you could not leave if you were registered, for example, in AMA, and you traveled to Kumasi and you had to use the hospital. You could not use your health insurance card from Accra in Kumasi. In fact, you could not use your health insurance card if you were registered at that time Dangme West, which was the district where Ningo Prampram and Shai Osudoku were. If you left Dangme West and came to Tema, if you were registered in Ningo or Prampram and got to Tema, you could not use your health insurance card because it was a mutual health insurance system. It was only when Professor Mills took over office in 2009 that we then decided to make it a national health insurance system that then allowed people to move across the country and still benefit from their health insurance cards in any part of the country. So it tells you that when the NDC pilots a program and the NPP comes and then runs with it, because they didn't pilot it, because they don't understand it, like I said to you at the beginning, you can only explain and implement something that your mind can conceptualize. Once they don't understand it, it's the same thing with free SHS. President Mahama started with a progressive free SHS because, again, we believe that if you read the Constitution speaks about accessibility before making it free. That's why President Mahama started building the e-blocks. You must have access and then progressively make it free because you cannot discriminate on the basis of access. Everybody must have the opportunity in every community where they are. And so, if you had this community senior high schools, it will reduce the number of borders that you need to have because then people would be in their communities and attend their community school and come back. The less borders you have, the less congestion in our boarding schools. The less borders you have, the less challenges of food. You saw what happened with Kobiche's video when Kobiche went to visit the schools. You saw what's happening to the schools. Look, the food our children are being fed is worse than what the prisoners are even being fed. Are you proud as a Ghanaian of the food that we feed the next generation of our leaders? I, for one, I'm embarrassed. When I saw Kobiche's video, I bowed my head down in shame. Because no country must treat its children, no country must treat its youth the way we treat our children. We feed them unhealthy and wholesome food. And we pride ourselves. And that's what President Mahama is coming to change. So when President Mahama says he's reviewing, it's to ensure that no child in our Ghanaian school, public school system, should be fed as though they are working on a slave plantation in Southern America in the 18th century. Absolutely no child.
All right.
We must treat our children with respect and the dignity that they deserve. And that's what President Mahama's review of free SHS is.
Okay. Let's move on. Let's talk about the judiciary very quickly. Because there's a lot going on. And it's kind of ties in with the question that I asked, so we know that the Chief Justice has written to President Akufo-Addo asking for more judges to be appointed to the Supreme Court because there is a heavy workload there. I have heard members of the NDC say that it appears the judiciary or the president has packed the bench with NPP-inclined judges. And yesterday, I asked the former president that I know that at a gathering of NDC lawyers somewhere in September last year, he urged them to aspire to be judges so that when he becomes president, he can appoint them to balance what he terms as an NPP-inclined judiciary. And I sought to find out whether the former president still stands by that position. That he didn't say, didn't answer directly, but I sought to speak on, the letter or the recommendation by the Chief Justice to the president. I've seen the press conference by the NDC that it is not done. The Chief Justice is not supposed to be the one to make those recommendations. And you have talked about the number of Supreme Court judges, but, lawyers and some judges make the argument, that their Supreme Court, they're about, 16 of them now. And they're handling about hundreds of cases. And the president has got discretionary powers to appoint these judges.
Yeah.
Let's put the fact that, it is the Chief Justice that is making these recommendations. Is it wrong for the president to make more appointments?
Absolutely.
Why?
It's unconscionable. I mean, President Akufo-Addo has literally bastardized and abused his power of appointment when it comes to the judiciary. And he's done it with a political spin and twist that is most unfortunate. Listen, NDC lawyers who qualify to be judges are Ghanaians. And the criteria for being a judge, either in the High Court, Court of Appeal, or Supreme Court, is stated in the Constitution. And so if these Ghanaians qualify, irrespective of their political affiliation, nothing should bar them from appointment if they are so qualified. However, we should not have a situation where our Supreme Court is being packed and being overrun. Listen, when Parliament has a lot of work before we rise, we don't ask the creation of new constituencies for new MPs to come in so that we do the work. Parliament normally sits on Tuesday to Friday. When we have those situations, we sit on Monday, we sit on Saturday, we even sit on Sunday. You commit yourself to ensure that the job is done. When there's work to be done, I've been in the Flagstaff House at times under President Mahama, where he was in the office till past midnight because the work had to be done. He didn't ask that they should appoint new ministers or appoint a second vice president or appoint another president. He sat there, sat down, earned his salary, and did the job. If the Chief Justice thinks that the judges on the Supreme Court today, who sit only from Tuesday to Thursday, they don't sit on Monday and Friday, cannot work on Monday and Friday and sit their backsides down and do the job we pay them a salary for and provide them all the perks. The Supreme Court, people shout about MPs getting Land Cruisers. They get Land Cruisers and saloon cars. In addition, they get two. They get two cars. MPs don't get their cars fueled for them. They get their cars fueled for them. They get drivers. They get accommodation. We give them all of that luxury so that they can sit down and write judgments and sit down and work. You don't tell us that the work we've given to you, the work is if it's too much, resign. If the Chief Justice thinks that she is incapable of doing the job we pay her a salary for, if the job is too much for her, what did General Nunu Mensah say? If the kitchen is too hot for you, leave. If the Chief Justice cannot do the job that we pay her a salary to do, and she thinks she needs more justice, she should honorably resign. There'll be somebody fit to do that job, grateful for the salary and perks that we give them, and they will do the job. The Supreme Court should start sitting on Monday. They should start sitting on Friday. They should stop throwing cases throwing cases all over the places. The United States Supreme Court sits on cases from over 300 million people. How many people are on the US Supreme Court? 7 or 9 judges. Yet they are able to do their job. The US Supreme Court, 9 judges. They are able to do and sit and adjudicate on cases from 300 million Americans. Cases from all the 50 states of the US come to the Supreme Court. They handle it. 16 of them. They say they can't handle cases from 33 million, from 16 regions. They should resign. I mean, that admission by the Chief Justice should even form the basis for her resignation. It means she's not fit for the job. It means she doesn't have the capacity to handle the caseload. If an MP, if a minister, someone look, let's be serious in this country. If a minister were to wake up one day and say that there are too many memos in my ministry, so Mr. President, I want more deputy ministers. How would the media bash take that from the minister? Or if the Speaker of Parliament said the workload in Parliament was too much, so he needed 50 more MPs. How would that sound to you? Or the president said that the workload, so he needed more ministers and more presidents. We needed to have 2 presidents. I mean, will that sound, how would the country take it? Look, the Chief Justice must not take us for a fool. And she must not take the benevolence of the Ghanaian people for granted. The Ghanaian people break their backs. Kaya years work non-stop, Monday to Monday. They don't have a break. They work almost 24 hours, sleep in harsh conditions, and pay taxes that is used to buy the air-conditioned car and air-condition her office as Chief Justice. She cannot be telling the poor Ghanaian whose taxes pay her and provide the luxury for she and the other judges of the Supreme Court that they cannot do their work. If they can't do their work, they should resign. Other people will come there and do the job that we pay them a salary for. Okay. We must demand quality and excellence from persons who earn a salary of the taxes of the Ghanaian people who are suffering. And I think that it is the Chief Justice owes the taxpayers of Ghana an apology for that suggestion. Now to the substantive question of whether President Mahama will appoint or not. The power of appointment rests with him. I don't expect President Mahama to flood the courts the way President Akufo-Addo has flooded the courts, both at the Supreme Court level and the appellate level, and even at the High Court level. But I believe that if there is any person who is qualified, and with age requirements, people are going to face out. I mean, people will age, people will reach retirement age, people will have to go. We need to scale down the numbers. I believe that we must have a cap on our Supreme Court. I don't see why we should have more than maximum 11 or 13 judges on the Supreme Court.
So right now there are 16 Supreme Court judges.
And you see,
if the NDC should win the election come December 7, is President Mahama going to make more appointments or any appointments to the Supreme Court?
The power of appointments rests with him. He'll take that decision.
But if you are saying 16 is too much for
But the 16 of them are not going to be there for life.
Yeah, but
they're not going to be there for life. So
definitely.
if, as and when there's the need for us people to retire, we'll look at the numbers. So, and if retirements or exits from the Supreme Court drop the number to somewhere around 7 or 8, given the exigencies of time or whatever may occasion that, I think that we shouldn't go beyond 11 or 13. And I think that we should find a way of amending the Constitution and putting it in there so that never again do we have a president act so irresponsibly as the current president has done to flood the Supreme Court.
So we shouldn't expect any appointment to the Supreme Court if Mahama becomes president
anytime
soon.
I haven't said so.
Unless there is some resignation.
I haven't said so. I've only said that for
but
me,
if the numbers are too much,
if the exigencies, when the exigencies are right and opportunity arises and the numbers reduce, if they reduce, we should never get to a place where we are beyond 11 or 13. And you see, the contradiction in Chief Justice, her ladyship, Justice Tokonu's own letter, is she writes to the president saying, appoint 5 people, in addition to the 16 that are there. Yet she says that, and then cap it at 20. Why, sir? In the judiciary, do they have a new mathematics time? Is there a new way of doing maths in the judiciary where 16 plus 5 is equals to 20? Because they are 16. She says appoint 5 more, but let the cap be 20. So even her own list of appointments goes beyond the cap of 20 that she's suggesting. I mean, let's get tidy. When we're paid with the taxpayers' money, let's be diligent in the work that we do.
All right. There's still a lot of areas that we can touch on, but we will get into that subsequently if there's time. But right now, I want us to talk about the NPP because they're your main opponents and getting into the 2024 elections. In fact, this one promises to be very interesting. On Thursday, they named their running mates, and tomorrow they will officially outdoor him in Kumasi in the Ashanti region. And I have seen quite a number of NDC supporters and communicators react to the naming of the energy minister as the running mates for Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Sam, what are your thoughts on settling on NAPO? Is the NDC scared?
Over what? Scared about what? If the election was about a contest of who is most arrogant and all, then, I mean, we would have been scared because GM is not arrogant, Prof is not arrogant. And so if the election was about a competition of who is the best liar, then we'll be scared. We'll know that we'll lose the election because GM can't tell the lies that Bawumia tells. Neither would Prof. I mean, she's too noble and distinguished to do those things. And so, I mean, but if it is about records, if it's about track record, and if it's about what they have done and what we can expect them to do, then there's nothing to be afraid of. I mean, you have a man who's got a track record of excellence and deliverables, tangible deliverables that you can see, paired up with a woman of great clout and pedigree, going up against a man who's best known for the lies he's told, and another who is known for being he's chronically arrogant. I mean, it's a no-brainer.
Does his arrogance make him...
That's why the NPP themselves have gone on an overdrive trying to explain his arrogance. Nobody has said anything about it, but they themselves, they've decided to go all out because their consultants have told them that that's a big no-no for Ghanaians. But I mean, look, this election is going to be about the track records. Prof. Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman is the running mate for John Dramani Mahama and the presumptive vice president by God's grace come 7th of January 2025. Prof went into the Ministry of Education at a time where 3 Ghanaian children shared one textbook. 3 Ghanaian children shared one textbook. At the time Prof was leaving after 4 years as Minister for Education, every Ghanaian child had 4 textbooks. So she turned the situation around from 3 children sharing one textbook to every child having 4 textbooks. Matthew Opoku Prempeh, as Education Minister, changed the curriculum. 4 years on after they changed the curriculum, there are no textbooks for the new curriculum.
But under his supervision, free SHS was implemented.
The free SHS that me and you are not proud of. The free SHS that is serving our children food that we won't serve our dogs. That's what we are serving them. I breed dogs. I know the food I give to my dogs. It's not what the children are being given, what Kobe Chase showed. And so I'm sure you've seen that Kobe Chase video. I wish your production had it to show the Ghanaian people. Put it on air. And let's ask ourselves if that is NAPO's pride. If that video, and I'll look for Kobe Chase video and send it to you if you don't have it, if your production doesn't have it, so that you play it tomorrow.
The free SHS policy,
if that is NAPO's success, then if that is what Ghanaians want.
You can't also deny the fact that it saved a lot of children from being at home who are now in school.
But the free SHS, implemented with all of its challenges, was started by Professor Nana Jane in 2015 under John Mahama, where over 10,568 Ghanaian children in the 2015-2016 academic year went in free of charge. Full tuition. Their parents didn't have to pay anything. Today, NAPO's free SHS, parents are spending more than they were spending when they were paying fees. So, you have NAPO leave education. And look, we've not forgotten all the issues that border on corruption at education under his watch. You remember that we spent over 56 million Ghana cedis buying math sets that never came. You remember that issue? You remember? Math sets that never came, 56 million Ghana cedis. So if we are in the place where we are today, where corruption has swallowed this country is drowning in the doldrums of corruption, are you sure you want to hand over the country to someone whose track record doesn't engender confidence? And let me just read something from Graphic, from the Auditor General's report. Financial irregularities committed by public boards increased from 5.47 billion Ghana cedis in 2019 to 12.86 billion in 2020. And then from 4.63 billion in 2021, in 2023 last year, 17.48 billion Ghana cedis. So that's how much financial irregularity is going on under this government. This government is corruption personified. You see, when we say corruption, people need to see it. Any member of this government, when you see them, that's corruption. The thing they call corruption, it is them. And you want us to retain the same people. Bawumia, who has engaged in nepotistic contract awards of sole sourcing to his own brother. His brother has been given sole source contracts all over the place. He's done family and friends appointments. The proper stand 555 hash. You're asking me which people?
Which contract?
Oh, his brother has gotten road contracts. He's gotten road contracts. Okujetua Blackwell has made exposés on those. They've not come out to deny it. Sole source road contracts have been given to his brother at inflated cost. It's fact. Napo, at education, at energy, the issues that we are hearing, the time will come. They should go and do their pump and pan gentry. He said party, they won't pay. They should go and do the party. But after they finish the party, we are waiting for them on the ground. We want to see if Ghanaians want a president who would deliver the bank hospital, a president who will deliver a state-of-the-art Terminal 3, or a president who will give them the UGMC, a president who will build the Tema and Pakadan Railway, a president who will do the Obechebi Lamte interchange, and the Kwame Nkrumah interchange, the Kaswa interchange, a president who will build the Fufusu Solar Road that had appeared in every 8 of President Kufuor's budgets, but never got done, but got done under John Mahama. A president who delivered proper road infrastructure in this country, proper health infrastructure, built the E-blocks, or a president or a candidate who is vice president, and don't forget, a president who oversaw the rebound of Ghana from an economic crisis. People today, this government uses Russia-Ukraine war as an excuse for this mess. Are you aware that in 2014-2015 there was a Russia-Ukraine war? That Crimea was annexed in 2014-2015. John Mahama did not leave Ghana in 2014-2015 to go and beg the president of Ukraine for grain. So, look, this Akufo-Addo Bawumia government, they have used our face as a mopping stick on the international stage. To think that the president of Ghana will sit in a plane to go and meet the president of Ukraine, who's been fighting a war for over 2 years, and go and do lala sulala, beg him for grain. We are begging Ukraine. The President Akufo-Addo, went to beg Volodymyr Zelensky, for grain, for food. We, Ghana, Kwame Nkrumah's Ghana. Jesus Christ. We need to put this country back to work. We need to salvage our image on the international stage. Our president has clearly lost it. We are more interested in a president who would deliver world-class health facilities and not one who will take 339 million Ghana cedis to dig a pit. But they are Galamsey kingpins. Let's not be shocked that tomorrow we do an investigation and there was report of gold at the site there, and that's why they dug that pit. It was no cathedral they wanted to build.
So-
330. Sawa, look, wait. Sawa, do you know what 339 million Ghana cedis can do for communities? What's your hometown? Where do you come from?
Seria.
Seria, in Ashanti region. Are you aware that we're building a hospital there? And that hospital was 75% complete? And that the NPP government for 8 years abandoned the equipment. The equipment that had arrived to complete it from 75% to 100% had arrived in containers. And we're just waiting for installation. The NPP has abandoned them at Seria, your hometown. Do you know what? That hospital did not cost 339 million to build? The whole hospital? Imagine what the NPP has done to your hometown by not completing the Seria military hospital. And imagine what that money, 339 million, could have done for the local economy in Seria. I can imagine what it would have done in Ningo Pram Pram. It would have fixed Afienya Dawenya Road. It would have fixed New Jerusalem to Apollonia, Old Ningo to Mango Chunya, Old Ningo to Chopoli. It would have fixed all those roads and we'll still have had change to build the nursing training college. That's what MPP used to dig a hole in the center of Accra.
Since you have mentioned the National Cathedral, and quickly, we'll be wrapping up shortly. I know yesterday the former president spoke about the National Cathedral, but as to what the NDC will do if it comes to power is not very clear to me. What would you do about the whole?
One thing I'm sure about is that we are not going to build a cathedral there.
So what is going to be the use
There'll
of
be a
the
proper
pit?
investigation into the
And
matter.
then?
And don't forget, the outcome of the investigation would allow us prosecute. And I expect the next Mahama administration to prosecute everyone involved in this theft in the name of God. Look, we live in a dispensation of grace. Else God should have struck people dead like he did to Ananias and Sapphira. For stealing in his name.
You're an elder.
Yes. And I'm
you
quoting
don't-
Bible.
And you don't believe that we need a national cathedral?
For what? The church I'm an elder in sits 14,000 people. It used to be the biggest auditorium in Ghana. Now the oil dome is also there. I hear it sits about 16,000. When you come to my constituency, Potter City, sits 20,000. What do you need a 5,000 cathedral for? And the man building a cathedral is busy supporting LGBTQ. The God he serves, does he support LGBTQ?
Okay, so
that cathedral is not a necessity.
Okay, so a future NDC government will investigate.
Has to.
Okay, and then what happens to that project?
We need to
the hole that has been dug. What's gonna happen?
If in fact I can't even fathom that President Mahama would think of saying he's also going to build a cathedral. Absolutely not. But that hole would have to be converted into something. There must be a national conversation about it. There are several schools of thought. I think that today in Ghana, and this is, again, is my personal opinion,
Okay.
not the position of the NDC and not the position of President Mahama. I am stating this on the record. This is Sam George's position. I believe that what we should rather do with that space, since that land has been built. I have visited it's called, is it Marie Louise Children's Hospital in Accra.
Okay.
It's an eyesore.
Okay.
My appeal to President Mahama is the way he was able to, with his former boss, John Evans Atta Mills, secure funding from the Israelis to build the UGMC, which is a world-class quaternary level hospital that mirrors the Sheba Medical Center in Israel. I want us to mirror a world-class children's hospital. I will want to see a world-class children's hospital sitting there that will provide cutting-edge, world-class healthcare to the children of Ghana. That should be John Mahama's legacy. That's my suggestion. I hope he takes it. But I think that would serve God and humanity better. That we give a befitting hospital for our children. Like you have St. Thomas in the UK, you've got John Hopkins, you've got Bethesda Children's Hospital in the US. We need a world-class children's hospital that will deal with all the congenital challenges that our children face in the world today. That will be my suggestion for that place. As for places of worship, we've got too many domes, too many buildings that have been built by the church. The church built those without taxpayers' money. People have stolen in the name of God. And we must give them judgment here before they meet God also for judgment. And there are some people, if I see in heaven, I'm going to ask God questions. Because I'll ask
Which people?
I don't know which of the identities to mention. People who have multiple identities, who've stolen in the name of God, use the name of God to steal 339 million of taxpayers' money. When Akufo-Addo said he was going to build that cathedral, did they not tell us that no peswa of taxpayers' money will go in? 339 million. Sawa? Look, the biggest problems I have in Ingo Pram Pram. Afenya Dowenya Road. Afenya to Dodowa. New Jerusalem to Apollonia. Old Ningo to Mango Chonya. Old Ningo to Chopoli. 339 million. What was used to build that hole, dig that hole, would have fixed all those problems for me in Ingo Pram Pram. That's how wicked. That's why yesterday, someone at the engagement called the president Nana Nebukadnezar. And I mean, it's that sheer level of wickedness. Sheer level of wickedness and insensitivity. Carelessness. You ask yourself if these gentlemen and women in government have any milk of human compassion running through them. If they did, they'll be compassionate. So, are you aware? Are you aware? Let me just tell you this. That look at the filth that has engulfed us in Accra. See the filth. Are you aware that as far back as 2020, this government gave Cecilia Dapa $43 million. $43 million, Sewa. That's also over 300 million. She said she used it to clear 5 heaps of rubbish. 43 million. Are you surprised that her housemaid was able to steal over $1 million from her house when she couldn't find, and she didn't even realize? 43 million of our taxpayers' money has been spent in the name of cleaning Accra. Accra is dirtier than they came to meet it.
Okay.
Look, Ghana has become a crime scene. And I expect and I demand of the next administration of John Mahama to ensure that the perpetrators of this rape of Ghana's purse, the desecration of Ghana's innocence, must not walk and enjoy their loot.
Okay.
They must be made to pay a steep price, such that anybody who finds himself in Mahama's government would use that as a yardstick and a learning rod. But you see, Sawa, before I end, I am proud of President Mahama and Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyemang. Yesterday, President Mahama spoke about corruption. I am challenging Mahmoud Bawumia and Matthew Opoku Prempeh to speak on corruption. Bawumia has gone around the country and danced in all the 16 regions, but he's not speaking about corruption because corruption is his middle name. I am daring him to speak about corruption. If he speaks about corruption, it will embarrass and disgrace him the way the dollar and CD have done to him. The election is not about dancing. It's about fixing the economy. It's not about arrogance. It's about putting Ghana back to work. It's not about talking down on Ghanaians and telling them to bring their own doomsday timetable when people's businesses are suffering. It's about putting the youth of Ghana at the forefront of national planning. And that's what John and Jane stand for.
Thank you very much. Sam George is the Member of Parliament for the Ningo Pram Pram constituency. Before we go, for 15 years, Quick Credit has been your trusted partner in micro lending, empowering lives and making dreams a reality. Today, we're excited to announce a new age. Quick Credit is now Bill's Microcredits, still committed to serving Ghanaians and changing lives. Bills is here to show you that everything is possible. Join us as we embrace a brighter future. Bills financing your needs. Stay with us.
Just before you go, the cleaners at the Jubilee House. I'm using this as an appeal to President Akufo-Addo. President Akufo-Addo, the cleaners at the Jubilee House say for 5 months they've not been paid their salary. Please pay them
and
a salary.
when did they tell you this?
Oh, it's on Ghana Web. They've done a press conference. The cleaners at the Jubilee House for 5 months have not been paid a salary. Cleaners at the Jubilee House, the official residence and office of the President of Ghana, have not received their salary for 5 months, causing significant hardship. Foster Dominic, a cleaner employed there since 2017, shared their plight on a radio station in Accra.
All right.
Yes, 5 months. President Akufo-Addo, why? Why? What it takes you to fly one trip with Sewa Broni will pay all these cleaners.
Disclaimer. Thank you very much, Sam George, for coming on the show.